Hey guys, and welcome back to the FFP. Today, me, Rob, and Justin are going to be doing a 12-team PPR mock draft. Thought it would be fun to just kind of go through our process of how do we evaluate talent and decide who we need to take when and how. And of course, as we always say, this is just a great time for us to learn trends. You were just talking about it. Tyreek Hill just passed Devonta Adams to go number 1 in ADP at the wide receiver position. So yeah, I think it's really important. If you go into your actual draft without a mock draft or any of that practice, you're not going to be ready for some of the curveballs that can come. But what do you guys want to say before we get started?
Yeah, so for me, it's not just about drafting good players. Obviously, you need to draft good players to win, but it's actually about finding value in your picks. I'll give you an example. Let's say you have a sleeper, or let's say you're a guy out there and you think Cam Akers is going to become a running back 1. You think this year you finish his top 5 running back scoring. Like, okay, everything falls into place, and you have a crystal ball, and you see things that we don't. You'd be a bad fantasy player to take him as a 5th running back. That'd be a foolish move. Even if you're certain he's going to finish there, it'd be better to let him drop, figure out where he's going in the draft, steal a couple other players early on, then take him just before he's typically being grabbed. And mock drafts help you understand that. Or for example, let's say you're in a league where you have to start a tight end, right? So typically a number 1 tight end, a stud tight end, they in the past went like in the 2nd or 3rd round typically, right? But right now, Kelsey, where he's going in the draft?
Probably late 1st round.
8th overall player in the 1st round. So if you're a guy that thinks, okay, I'll let him slip to the 2nd round, I'll grab him, you're going to be shocked and sad when he's gone and suddenly there's a run on tight ends and you get stuck with somebody that's a bad tight end. So once again, it's good to know the trends. It's good to know the players that you're drafting with too. So
yeah, dare I say there's probably the 3 biggest mistakes are 1, not knowing the players in general. 2 is knowing the players, but not really knowing where they're going and when they're going and when those runs and trends are happening. The 3rd being getting drunk at your draft. That's got to be the biggest mistake right there.
Yeah.
But Justin, do you have anything to add?
No, I think mock drafts are important because people can get excited about players, and this happens a lot of times with newer fantasy players, people that are kind of getting into it. But when you really want to take that next step, mock drafts can really get you to realize where people sit. You can be excited about your players that you want to draft and stuff, but really knowing where their value lies in the draft is key. So I'm excited to be here.
And I think one final thing before we get going is before any draft, 1, you got to know your scoring system, know it like the back of your hand, and know your rules, what your expectations are, bench, things like that, how waiver-wire works. And so what have you laid out for this mock draft?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Again, we're going to be doing a 12-team PPR mock draft. The starters will be drafting 1 quarterback with 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a 1 tight end, a kicker, and a defense, plus 5 bench spots. Now, I know a lot of leagues will do a flex spot in there, so you don't have to draft a tight end. We like to do drafts, especially in the mock draft, where you have to draft a tight end because it forces us to evaluate that and consider that. And then some people do their mock drafts and they do 2 receivers and a tight end or 2 receivers and a flex. We like to do 3 wide receivers because, again, pushes us to have an understanding of depth at the wide receiver position. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I don't think there's anything more to add to that other than standard snake draft.
Yeah, where we are, we did a random in the draft and let the computer assign us where we're at. And where do we land in the draft order for the computer?
Yeah, we were at number 4, which is a good place. Not quite in the middle, but we should get a pretty good early pick. So.
Yeah, I prefer mine in the middle a little bit, even down towards the bottom. But 4, it is what it is.
Yeah, this might be a little higher than you like, but it is high enough that 1 bad early pick in those first 3 could see us getting a very, very talented guy, and we're not at that place in like 7 or 8 or 9 where it's like, man, you just missed out on those elite running backs. Absolutely. And now you're in that weird, do we draft a wide receiver spot? I tend to think we're probably still going to be drafting a running back, but why don't we just get this thing started and see what we're working with? All right, so I just want to take a little pause and sadly tell you guys that I've been having a lot of issues with this video, spent the last 2 days and way too much time after having. I don't know exactly what it was. I believe it possibly to be just a corrupted audio file on the rest of the video. It just sounds awful on the recording. Don't know what it was. Did some testing and did a lot of different things. Managed to do a couple of audio recovery things. Again, took a lot of hours, and I got it back to the place where you can hear it and you can understand it. It does not sound that good, however. So ultimately, here at the FFP, we decided to publish this. We thought the mock draft went really well. It was a lot of fun, and I think some of you might still enjoy it. But I will warn you that the audio quality is not very good, and it's not up to par for what we want. So especially for you guys, Many of you guys may be watching this and you've watched a lot of our videos, you know that. But if you're new and you've never seen the channel before, just understand that like this is not our quality. Our quality is much higher. And if you hit play after this section, and you get to the next part, it's going to be lovely, and you just don't enjoy it and you want to turn it off, I totally understand that. We won't be offended at all. But we did want to publish it out there for the few of you who might still want to listen to it. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for your support. I will just let this run out for the next hour. Sorry for the difficulty on that. Won't happen again, as I think I've learned some lessons and some ways to avoid it. Funny enough, I did some testing even before and just some audio checks, and it was fine when we tested it. But of course, when we do the actual recording, it didn't quite work out. So my apologies for that. That is entirely on me, and we will make sure here at the FFP that we do not have that issue again. Also, a little heads up. Not tomorrow, but the next day, I believe we will be publishing our next wide receiver rankings. That is our wide receivers 13 through 24. But anyways, let's get right into it.
All right, let's get into it. We'll hit start.
All right, right off the board, we got Christian McCaffrey at number 1, Dalvin Cook at number 2, and then Alvin Kamara at number 3.
Okay, so everybody said, I'm a big guy. I'm a huge proponent of getting running backs early and often. What I was hoping they would slip and grab Derrick Henry, but being a full PPR, that wasn't the case. Henry makes me nervous in a PPR league.
Yeah.
And so what are your thoughts on where we go from here? I'll just put my opinion out there, and this is a bold opinion. I think we have two choices that I like right now. The first is to go take a little bit of a flyer on Jonathan Taylor. I think that's a bit of a reach. But I love his upside, and he could very well be the number 1 running back. A bit more safe of a pick, who is more PPR of a stud than most people consider, and I probably would have taken him in the top 3, Ezekiel Elliott. Remember that when Dak Prescott was playing in those first 5 games, Ezekiel Elliott was second to only Alvin Kamara in running back catches. So, maybe taking him here at 4 would be the guy to go with. I really don't want to go Derrick Henry, and that's just me. I really want to lean into that PPR. It's just my personality, I guess.
I don't know, I know this might be different from you guys, but I've always liked Saquon Barkley. He's someone that gets me excited. It is a bit of a risk this year coming off of that injury last year, but I think he's a valid option this year with what they're doing over at the Giants. I think they've made a lot of improvements there on the offense, but him coming back, I feel like he could be a PPR stud as well. I don't know what you guys think about that, but
yeah, I think you got to nail this first round pick. You can't get this one wrong. I love Saquon Barkley. Although his question marks there, Jonathan Taylor's young. The safer pick is Ezekiel Elliott. But here's something to consider: Ezekiel Elliott right now is going to the 7th running back. Is there a possibility that he flops around in the 2nd round? Do we go with the wide receiver 1, or since we know Kelsey's going number 8, it's a little bit early for him? But we had lock in a PPR league a stud tight end. So, we don't have to. I guess this is where we have to kind of guess what's going to come back around. That's why we're doing mock drafts. So, what do you guys lean in between? Do we go for a stud wide receiver, or do we still continue with the back, or do we roll the dice with Kelsey?
if we roll with what I normally do, I would not go with the receiver now. I think Zeke would be a perfect choice for this early in the draft, personally. But
okay, what do you think? You like Zeke, I know.
Here's what I'm thinking, and I love your point. We are in this mock draft to learn and to get better and to improve. I think we should experiment, and I don't think we should experiment by taking Kelsey, and here's why. Kelsey is the obvious risk to take. What if we take a wide receiver and then we gamble and we figure out if you take a wide receiver early on, let's see what running backs and tight end is left later on. Again, that's a risk, but it's about learning, not about showing how amazing we are at drafting.
So I like where you're going with that. Here's the one thing that we said. Normally running backs is where you win or lose your league. But this year there seems to be a deeper talent in the running back pool. If you watch our videos, we kind of discussed that. So I think that we could maybe do this more. In most seasons I wouldn't. But I do feel okay. So then we're coming back around, and here's what it comes down to. Devonta Adams or Hill. I'll tell you where I line with it. I think that Rodgers is coming back, and if that's the case, to me Adams is a stud. But I don't know where you guys line if we go wide receiver.
yeah, I mean, Devonta Adams is always going to get you consistent points, especially if he comes out like he did last year. With Aaron Rodgers coming back, if that's what happens, I'm assuming it will. I feel like that's a better choice than Tyreek Hill. Obviously Tyreek Hill was an absolute stud last year, especially in the deep pass. But I feel like Devonta Adams, there's the volume there. I don't know, especially in a PPR league, that's super valuable.
Absolutely. What is it? Over the last 3 seasons, Devonta Adams is 16 game average
is like 121 catches. He's just been a monster whenever he plays full 16 over the last 3 years. He's just been super dominant. So why don't we go to Devonta Adams and just see what we work
Right
with?
now he's the 12th overall player taking the first round. I think that's partially because of Rodgers in there. So we're not actually taking him that early.
Yeah,
I like it. Let's do it.
there we go. All right, Justin, why don't you read off who's going next?
Yeah, so at number 5, we got Nick Chubb. And then Saquon Barkley comes around at number 6. Number 7, we got Jonathan Taylor. At number 8, Tyreek Hill with the second receiver off the board. And then at number 9, we got Derrick Henry. Number 10, Ezekiel Elliott. Number 11, Aaron Jones. Number 12, the third receiver, Stephon Diggs, my bad. Then we have Travis Kelsey as the first tight end off the board at number 13.
He's also the first pick in the second round.
True, yep.
Which is interesting to see. He did fall, but not nearly far enough.
Yeah.
So it's like, even if you got a little lucky there, it still wasn't enough luck.
Absolutely, yeah. And then second pick in the second round, we got DeAndre Hopkins. At number 15, we have Patrick Mahomes. Number 16, DK Metcalf. Number 17, Cam Akers. And then we have the running back Dobbins from Baltimore. Joe Mixon at, I'm losing track of the number here, but
Was that the 7th pick in the second round?
Yeah. And then finally, Justin Jefferson.
So here we are. We got to figure this out. We could skip another running back and really roll the dice on PPR specialist here, or we need to get a good back.
Mm-hmm.
That's typically what I would do. I get a little nervous about maybe trying to let slide one more round, especially in a league like this. But I think we've got a running back, and what are our options? How do you guys feel? Is that like the next guy?
Yeah, let's just see. I mean, we can even click this and just cut up the other positions. We got Eckler, Najee Harris, Antonio Gibson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Josh Jacobs. There are still options out there, so it's not like we're taking a running back purely out of being desperate. There's talent there. Then at the wide receivers, A.J. Brown, Calvin Ridley, Michael Thomas. Good options there as well. We did already go out there and get one, so I feel like maybe going back-to-back might be a bad choice.
Well, I believe on the flop back to us, because it'll come around a lot quicker this time. There'll be another good receiver. We can come back, maybe another running back, but I definitely think it's running back. How do you feel, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, with the running backs already off the board, yeah, they're not too bad, but you can tell that normal running back one that you would typically have is no longer there. There are some pretty good studs there, but I would say for our second pick, running back would be the smart choice. I don't know if that's the direction you guys want to go for this draft. I know we're kind of experimenting, but
yeah, that's what I know. There's 4 guys that pop out at me. Austin Eckler is a PPR stud.
Yeah.
As far as a great running back goes, we took my video. He's not going to be your prototypical back there. He's good. I like Najee Harris. I think he's in a great position, but he is a rookie, and so we don't know where we're going to get there. Antonio Gibson's looked great, and but to me, probably the safest one with the most upside is Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
I'm so happy you said that.
Yeah, so that's what I feel like he's got the probably the most upside, and is probably also the safest pick right now. But
yeah, no, I couldn't agree more, honestly. With the running backs out there, yeah, he's definitely the safest, I would say.
And it's hard to argue with an offense with Pat Mahomes. So you guys say we take Edwards-Helaire, and let's be honest, are all three of us, are we kind of hoping that George Kittle drops back to us in the 3rd round?
So, I mean, there's not that many picks around the corner there, so I mean, yeah, fingers crossed that'd be a steal.
All right, are we good to go for it then?
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah, so right off the bat, we got Calvin Ridley, Austin Eckler, and George Kittle to end the 2nd round. That was a bit unfortunate. Didn't come back around there. Following that, the start of the 3rd round, we got Najee Harris, Antonio Brown.
A.J. Brown.
Oh, A.J. Brown. My bad there. We got Gibson, and then our 3rd pick coming up.
so you look at tight ends. You got Waller coming up. That's the next basic tight end that's out there.
Or maybe
Although,
Mark Andrews.
Mark Andrews, you could roll the dice out on Pitts. Let's look at the wide receiver and running backs and just see who's out there and talk this through a little bit.
Let's look at the wideouts. There's one running back I like right now, but as far as the wideouts, Michael Thomas, Keenan Allen, I love Allen Robinson, and we're not going to get it if we pass him up now, but I'd argue there's one guy I want more.
Let's see the running backs. Who's that one guy that you have across?
I want to lock down David Montgomery because he's not falling back to us, and what would that be, late in the 4th round? He really exploded last year. I know the argument is Tariq Cohen's going to come back, and that'll lower his volume, but let's be honest, this is a guy who is expected to be that good as rookie year. The only reason we didn't expect that last year was because it was a bit of a disappointment. But as we've seen with a lot of running backs, like that can happen. It happens.
No, here when I look at this, okay, so we got to fill 3 wide receivers. And if we take running back, we still got to get 2 more receivers. We drafted 1, whereas so we have more to fill in that position. Allen Robinson to me is the safer pick between him and David Montgomery. But like I said, we've always said running backs win your league, and I do like David Montgomery. Man, it's tough. What's your thoughts on this, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, David Montgomery, obviously he's not going to circle back around. I like him, but just out of curiosity, what do you guys think of the rookie running back? I think it's Travis, how do you pronounce his last name?
Etienne.
Yeah, Etienne. I know there was talks about him really being involved in the passing game there, and it being a PPR league. I mean, obviously, I know you guys normally talk about avoiding rookie running backs and rookie players in general. At least drafting them at first, but I just
We actually
want
like
to hear
rookie
your
running
thoughts on it.
backs.
We love rookie running
We
backs.
do. Okay.
Rookies in general, not big on. Here's the one thing that stands out to me. I believe it was their rookie minicamp. He worked out exclusively with wide receivers.
Yeah.
That's great. That's awesome. He's a dual threat. He's awesome in the passing game. To me, that sends a clear message, and that is they feel like they've already got their back. And they want to use him as a weapon, but they don't know what his role is going to be, and he doesn't really have this etched out, secure position.
You got James Robinson, who was great last year, and then they also brought in Carlos Hyde, and who's a decent quality back. Who else is out there for running backs?
What about Myles Gaskin? You think he falls to us next
He's another
round?
guy that's a PPR stud. So over the next, let's say, 8 running backs that are available, and can we estimate if they flop back around a decent one? Because then that would kind of prompt us to maybe look at a wide receiver.
Yeah.
We get DeAndre Swift, Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders, Chris Carson, David Montgomery, Travis Etienne, Kareem Hunt, Myles Gaskin, James Robinson's out there, Melvin Gordon's out there.
So here's my take on some of those names you said there. Go back up to the top. You got Swift, and you got Miles Sanders and Josh Jacobs. Those guys aren't that far behind David Montgomery.
Yeah.
I can live with that, but we could lock down a wide receiver 1 for our second wide receiver. We actually have right now Allen Robinson slotted as a wide receiver 1. And yet he'd be our wide receiver 2 starter. I mean, that's pretty solid. So I'd rather risk that we get a different value pick at running back, but that's my take.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean, I think typically I wouldn't go this route with picking 2 receivers in the first 3 rounds.
I usually wouldn't either.
Yeah, but I mean, to pass up Allen Robinson at this point in the draft and then come around and still have quality running backs, it's not a bad decision.
Yeah, I want to just say something to that. And we always say in video, it's important to go into a draft and have a strategy, but you have to remain flexible. And you've got to, bend with the way the draft goes. If you're too rigid, you're going to make a mistake. Like you said, I'm a guy like you, Mac. I'm running back early. But if the draft doesn't fall the right way and you stick to that, you could shoot yourself in the foot. You got to use some wisdom. So I agree with you.
Absolutely.
So what you're saying is listening to you is wise. That's the message you're trying to send.
Yes, it is.
All right, let's take Robinson and see what we get late in the 4th.
All right, so right after we got Swift, Waller, Michael Thomas comes out, Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders. Sorry, I'm having a hard time.
You want me to
seeing
finish
that.
reading it off there?
Yeah.
Keenan Allen goes, then Julio Jones, and Terry McLaurin finishes off the 3rd round. What a steal. You start off the 2nd round with Chris Carson. We start to get into some quarterbacks now with our second QB, Josh Allen, then Mike Evans, David Montgomery, Lamar Jackson, Amari Cooper, DJ Moore, and then Kyler Murray comes right before us. So now we're up. All right, so here we are again. Was it 9th pick in the 4th round? We've got 2 wide receivers and a running back. Kind of flipped for us. Typically at this point, we got 2 running backs. You guys watch the channel, you know that. So let's start looking at our running back options. Like you mentioned, we took the risk. Let's see what came back around. Seems like there are some good options. Again, Myles Gaskin, you might not like him, but he's a volume back who's used in the passing game, and in this scoring system, that helps. I like Melvin Gordon. He was a surprise last year, but then they drafted Devonta Williams. That makes me nervous. To be honest, I think the best pick is James Robinson, and a lot of people watching are gonna hate that. They're big on ETN. They're nervous about Robinson's value. That's just me. I want to leave it to you guys. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that situation scares me a lot. It really does. If we went with a guy like that, we definitely have to have a number 3 running back on our bench just in case.
Yeah.
To me, the safest play out there is Myles Gaskin, who I think doesn't have a high ceiling, but it's got a very, very safe floor.
Yeah.
And he's their guy. I mean, there's not really anybody else there right now. All these other situations, I like Melvin Gordon. He actually had a good year last year. You have to guess, okay, how much time is that rookie running back going to get? You know, like I said, we could look at some other ones. We looked at the tight end position. Maybe that's where you go. But Darren Waugh's out there. And what we found when we looked is that all the other tight ends that are left, you know, they're all around that same level as far as like the ability. So I don't feel like we need to rush a tight end pick now.
Yeah.
What's your take on this, guys?
Yeah, I mean, I would be looking at running backs here. You know, I know I brought up Travis Etienne earlier, and he's still around now. You mentioned him taking wide receiver reps in the offseason here, and that kind of looking like they know who they got there as their main running back in James Robinson. But at the same time, what I see there is they see catching ability higher than their other running backs. So I feel like it might be one of those situations where he's highly involved in the pass game, screens, you know, short passes here and there, and then we got that, you know, the other running backs taking the, you know, the actual rushing percentage a little higher. I don't know. I like the guy. I'm excited about him. I don't know if I would take him this early, but yeah, I just wanted to bring him up again.
Yeah, and one way we could look at it too is like you look at Raheem Mostert.
True, yeah.
Last year his efficiency was good. He got injured,
Yeah.
but when he was on the field, he was successful like he was the year before that. Do we roll the dice with him and then grab a third good running back just in case and get our other wide receiver? Who's out there for wide receivers right now?
Yeah, that's again, I mean, if we're going to go for the risk strategy, Chris Godwin's still out there in the 4th round. Adam Thielen's still out there right now. Like, so much talent is available. There are some guys like, I think Kenny Galladay's out there. You might be tricked into getting excited about him. I think he's too risky. I'll avoid it, but.
You didn't say Cooper Kupp. I thought you always had a man crush on him.
I love Cooper Kupp. Bit of a down year last year. They really moved Robert Woods into kind of an equal role with him, and so I love Cooper Kupp. The thing that scared me most was that when they got into the red zone, they didn't use him that much, and his touchdowns were low. Touchdowns are an inconsistent stat. They could bounce back. He could have 10 this year. He could have 12 this year. Who knows? But he also have 3 this year. And
But he also got a much better quarterback than he's ever had.
He does.
Stafford's a major
does.
upgrade there. So, you know, I guess I'm looking at this. I'm thinking none of those running backs inspire a ton of confidence. I think they're decent backs. I think there's a lot of upside there. But none of them we look at and say, okay, I just trust him. Boom. Therefore, we could lock in our third wide receiver and have 3 stud wide receivers and then come back around. It's a little bit risky, but you got to risk it to get the biscuit, right?
Do we just do a no running back draft video? I don't like
Feels like
this.
it. I feel like that, yeah. Now, here's what we'll do in this. My take on this is that this is a route we went. We'd have to put a lot of running backs on our bench to give us that possibility of a sleeper or a guy or whatever, some insurance. But
We could load up on Devonta Williams and stuff later.
Yeah.
Sorry, Justin, what were you saying?
It's all good.
Yeah.
Every bit of me is saying no. You know, every bit of me, I'm like, please God, no. 3 receivers in the first 4 rounds. That scares me because there's going to be almost nothing after that. But yeah, I guess if we do load up on running backs later on, there could be someone that surprises us. And the receivers that are available are a bit more exciting than the running backs, but that's almost always the case. There's so many receivers out there, so many guys that could possibly have a high week, you know, and things like that, or a high season. But
I mean, there's even a guy like, you know, Mike Davis, you know, or
Yeah.
James Conner. I mean, there's
I
backs
say
out
James
there.
Conner. I love James Conner at this point. I think that's going to be his backfield.
So I think we can lower running backs and lock in. The other thing that we should probably comment on briefly right now is we haven't talked about quarterbacks at all.
We haven't.
We haven't. And why is that, Christian or Justin?
Pretty straightforward. We're going to wait on quarterbacks. Look at Lamar's best season, Carson Wentz's best season, Pat Mahomes' best season. I don't care who the quarterback is. You know where their best year tends to come? The year after they weren't known. These guys come from nowhere where Pat Mahomes, he had 52 total touchdowns. His ADP, late 9th round.
yeah.
So I'm going to tell you right now, we're just going to wait because there's value out there. And if you're smart, and I'd like to think we are, you can get late value. So I'm going to capitalize on the running back position where it doesn't matter how smart you are. If you wait till the 9th round, you're not getting a starting running back.
It's the easiest position to stream of all the positions to play matchup with. And we've done a video that talks about the value of the league has changed. It used to be if you had 30 touchdown passes, you were a stud. Like back one year when it was Steve Young and Brett Favre only did it. I think very recently we found, I think there was like 11 quarterbacks in one year that broke over 30 touchdown passes. One was Blake Bortles. So they may not be great quarterbacks, but this is not football. This is fantasy football. I don't care if they're garbage time stats.
Yeah.
What's your take on that, Justin?
Well, I mean, for the sake of experimenting, you know, we could look at
Well, let's
quarterback
say-
early on, you know.
Quarterback.
I mean, you wouldn't normally do it, but we wouldn't normally go this route with running backs either. So hypothetically, who's out there? You know.
Hypothetically, Prescott's still out there, huge upside, and so is Rodgers.
And did I see Russell Wilson?
Yeah, Russell Wilson is on there as well. Just a few other options. You know who's out? But let's be honest, if we're going to wait at this point. Why would we wait on Deshaun Watson? if he plays this
Throw him on your
season,
bench or
you
something.
throw him on your bench. If he happens to play, he's going to be a top 10 fantasy QB. And with all the drama going on right now, nobody's going to touch him. At least according to his ADP, we've shown that no one's going to touch him.
So it
for a
tells you an
while,
awful lot right now. There's 4 quarterbacks that are already gone. You still
Yeah.
got a lot of studs left out there. So
Absolutely, yeah.
man, I want to go back to another position, and I'm feeling, and I'm okay to flex to you guys, man, I'm feeling like we just lock in a stud wide receiver, and then I think it's going to come back around to us and we can get a good back.
Almost let them make the decision for us. Take a running back or two between now and then they can decide for us. But what wide receiver do you think it is? Does it got to be Chris Godwin, right?
Chris Godwin's a stud. What you do is you draft the guy and you pray to God that one of those other wide receivers gets hurt. But not that we ever want me to get hurt.
Go to a Bucs game and just turn on a laser and
Yeah.
a little.
But even with all the guys there last year, he still had good numbers when he actually played and he was on the field.
So I can't believe this. We give ourselves 10 minutes for each pick. We got 1 minute left, so let's just make the decision. Who
What do
are
you
we
guys
going
want?
with?
Let's go Chris Godwin.
All right, let's do it. There we go. Right after that, Cooper Kupp goes, then Mark Andrews, and finishing out the 4th round is CeeDee Lamb. Love that guy. Didn't want to take him there, but super excited about what he's going to do in the
And
future.
you know what? Not one running back came off the board. So
Not
we got the
one.
guy that we wanted and it flipped back to us. We took a chance and we nailed it.
But let's continue. Starting the 5th round, Adam Thielen, then Robert Woods, and then Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is interesting there. Again, another tight end was at 4 tight ends gone, and one's a risky, I believe that's 5, excuse me. But one's kind of a risky rookie tight end. So I love that we took that risk and it paid off. We got the exact same running back situation as before, so I almost still don't know what to do.
Yeah, I think we got to take a running back at this point. That's a no-brainer.
We
Just
do.
who is it?
Yeah.
Justin, you wanted Travis Etienne. I'll be honest with you, and I want James Robinson, which puts us on weird, total different ends. So, like, Rob, do you pick one of those guys, or do you just go somewhere else with another route? I mean, do we lock up Melvin Gordon with Javonte Williams then, and we've got that backfield set?
Yeah, I hate running back by committee, but sometimes you got to play it. You do, and that's definitely running back by committee. I'm a type of guy that'd rather probably go a different route, a guy that maybe not be as proficient, but's going to get all the touches.
Yeah.
I'm not, that thing scares the snot out of me. But if you guys want to go that route, man, we're a team, we're drafting as a team, I'm okay with that. I'm leaning towards I'm leaning towards like a Miles Gas. You know what? Let me throw this at you guys right now.
Okay.
We talk about James Conner might flop back. Raheem Mostert is there. Some of these guys, Miles Gaskins could slip.
Are you going to tell us to draft a tight end?
No.
Okay, I was going to say, like, whoa.
This is against my better judgment, but once again, being flexible. What if we went Dak Prescott?
All right, I'm down.
I mean, he's a stud quarterback, and we can still get the running back we want. We've already finished wide receiver. The rest of the tight ends are all guys that fall into that probably tight end tier, late tier 2, tier 3. So there's no like obvious tight end pick, but.
I just wanted to clarify what you're telling us right
Yes.
now is that in 5 rounds we will walk away with 1 running back.
Yep.
That's
I love it. This is Moneyball.
No,
That's what we're doing.
I like it. I like it. I can't say. But who's going to be there after however many picks it takes to come back around? I would imagine a good amount of running backs are going to be off the board.
They probably will. Yes. And it's and we're gonna have to throw our bench, a lot of guys on the bench. We'll have to go running back heavy. But here's the thing: all those backs to the left have question marks. But I guarantee coming back around, Dak Prescott was on pace for a phenomenal season. If you look at Pat Mahomes, carried a lot of people to the championship that year. Once again, goes against my better judgment, but I'm letting the draft dictate flexibility in our approach.
Well, I'll say 2 things. One, it's hard not to draft a guy who was he averaging like 400 yards a game?
Yes.
It was insane. He was doing it on the ground, in the pass game, he had rushing touchdowns, he was everywhere. And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not going to do this in my real draft. I'm going to be a scaredy cat, and I'm going to take the running back and play it safe. But we're experimenting. Let's see what we can get later on.
Let's do it.
All right, so after that, we got Tyler Lockett goes off the board, followed by Russell Wilson, Travis Etienne, Myles Gaskin, Jamar Chase, then Kareem Hunt, Devonta Smith, and then Justin Herbert finishes out that round. In the next round, Juju goes, followed by Deontay Johnson, Odell Beckham, and Kenny Golladay. Then TJ Hawkinson and James Robinson, drafted by the same team, so that's an interesting strategy there. And then Cortland Sutton and DJ Chark, we just missed them. But here we are, and what exactly was this? 9th pick in the 6th round.
Okay, Justin, before you have a heart attack, we got to take a running back, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
so who's
absolutely.
out there?
Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams are out there, as well as Chase Edmonds and James Conner, Leonard Fournette. To me, it seems like there's really only one option there.
So you can take Melvin Gordon, flip back around, most likely get the Rooney, backup. Although here's what we'll have to wrestle with: we could definitely probably get Melvin Gordon, James Conner probably there and come back around, and he could potentially become the go-to guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that we go that route. I'm leaning towards Melvin Gordon personally.
Yeah, absolutely. I think where we're at in the draft, it'll be easy to. I mean, not too many are going to be gone, so yeah.
And here's what I'm figuring. I'm looking at this right now, and I feel like we're going to get a lot. And maybe we should just pause for a split second and look at the wide receivers in case there's a guy that we missed. Never assume, right?
Yeah.
But I think we're going to get some good running backs and have some depth, even though we waited so long.
Well, there's still guys. We haven't even discussed the big hype around Trey Sermon right now. He's got a super low ADP, and he could, one injury to a guy like Raheem Mostert, boom, that was a late round draft pick who is a top 15 running back for you. So unlike most years, this year's different. There's a little bit of depth at running back. Not a ton, but there's some. So let's go Melvin Gordon there, and we'll see what happens when we wrap around. Right after our pick, we got Tom Brady, then Chase Claypool, and Trevor Lawrence finishes off the 6th round. Starting in the 7th is Brandon Ayuk, Aaron Rodgers, then T. Higgins. So here we are with the 4th pick in the 7th round.
So here's what we're looking at. Do we, it's nice and safe. You handcuff Gordon, you kind of got that set. Or there's other guys out there that potentially could be, the running back one. Mostert out there. Do you get James Conner out there still? And these guys could potentially be the guy. Do you roll the dice with the Houston back? Well, Houston right now is just probably something you want to stay away from. But
yeah.
What do you guys think about this? And let's just look at the wide receivers. I think we're good there, but we should at least see who's on the board just in case. You never know.
Just in case, yeah. Waddle, Jerry Jeudy, Brandon Cooks, underrated. If Deshaun Watson plays, that's a 1,000-yard receiver who's going to get you 8 touchdowns and 70 catches in the 7th round. You can't argue with that. It's almost like we almost drafted ourselves into this bad spot because we could be getting that deal right now had we gone running back.
And those guys do have question marks, like you said. If the quarterback comes back, but the guys that we got, there are no question marks.
Yeah,
so I think we lean towards running back still, but I don't know.
What about let's check tight end as well?
It's a good idea.
Fant, Mike Gesicki, and Gronkowski are out there. Dallas Goedert's still there.
Irv Smith, yeah.
Irv Smith, that's who I was going to bring up. Irv Smith's got an interesting situation there with Rudolph leaving Minnesota. I feel like his volume's going to go up. He's, what is he, a 3rd year or is it his 2nd year? I believe it's his 3rd year. Yeah. So he has some experience there to really take the reins there at tight end, and I feel like he'd have a good amount of volume. He might be being overlooked,
Yeah, but I think those guys that are left there, they all, I think, have possibility and they've got potential, and so I think we don't need to rush to grab one now.
We didn't even mention Robert Tonyan's still out there.
Yes.
How is he still out there? Like, that's weird.
Yeah.
This is such a weird year for me because I said it with the running backs, but it's even more so with the tight ends. Like, there's talent out there, and I'm not used to that, and it's really strange. But if you work it to your advantage, you can watch everyone else panic at the tight end position while you evaluate the talent. So why don't we bounce back to those running backs? What do you guys think? I guess it feels like, to me, it feels like the question is, do we secure Devonta Williams or do we go grab James Conner? That's my opinion of the 2 options.
Well, I know this isn't part of those 2 options, but I like the momentum that Leonard Fournette had in the postseason last year. I don't know how you guys like him. I know he was a little wishy-washy last year, but then in the postseason, that was some good momentum he had. He might carry that into this year. I don't know. He might be a solid option.
So, if we handcuff Gordon, obviously that's safe. We could lose on a guy that potentially has a great year, because you're right, he's in a great offense there, so this guy could be racking up a ton of goal line carries. The other thing, though, let's say we go with Leonard Fournette, and let's say he doesn't take over the lead role. Let's say running back by committee, or Ronald Jones ends up being the guy, and now all of a sudden the rookie overtakes Gordon. Now we've gone from having quality and safety to one back. Also, to me, I feel, because we took some chances earlier, I know it was me, I'm the one that said roll the dice. I almost feel like we got to play it a little bit more conservative right now. But that's just, once again, my thoughts on it.
We do, and with how many running backs are there, and there is a chance that James Conner comes back to us in an offense where he could be the lead back. They improve their offensive line. In fact, the best offensive lineman that the Cardinals have right now is a guy they just got and haven't used. So there's a big improvement at their center position. I'd love to see us take Williams and then see if Conner's back later on.
And you wanted to go with
Leonard Fournette.
Leonard Fournette. I like Leonard Fournette, and maybe I'm scared away from the history, but there was a guy who did that a few years ago for the Chiefs, Damien Williams.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, his playoff success, late season success, that guy's huge. I kept him in the league. Shouldn't have done that. It was a mistake, and I'll just be totally honest with that. It was the wrong keeper for me to keep in that league. So maybe I'm just hesitant on trusting the playoff stats.
Yeah, I'm a little scared right now, but Williams is my binky right now. He makes me feel safe.
Makes you feel a little comfortable.
Makes me feel comfortable and safe.
Yeah.
There's been big talk about him, huge upside too.
Yeah. You know, maybe if Fournette flops back. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right, let's see what happens. All right, right after that, looks like Noah Fant went, then Jalen Waddle, and then Leonard Fournette, Marquez Brown. Then there's a running back run. Ronald Jones, Raheem Mostert, Chase Edmonds, Kenyon Drake. Jerry Jeudy starts the 8th round, and then James Conner, Mike Gesicki, Joe Burrow, Laviska Shenault, Rob Gronkowski, Brandon Cooks, then David Johnson, and now we are up.
Well, running backs went there, and a lot of those guys that we thought had potential are now gone. Who's left for running backs? Because we could really use something on our bench.
There's one guy. Well, there's a few options, I suppose. Nahim Hines, in that it's a PPR league. He did see more stats than people thought he did last year, and with what guys like Kareem Hunt are able
What
to
do you
get.
got? Zach Moss, Mike Davis there.
Yeah, I'd say Trey Sermon. If you want, he's not safe, but if you want to load up with high potential guys, Trey Sermon's now the time to take it.
So I'm gonna tell you what I like. Okay, a couple things there. Mike Davis has been a journeyman, but it sounds like he's the guy in Atlanta. So he's gonna get the carries, he'll get the volume. I think he's gonna be proficient. The other one, and this is always tough. I tell running back for New England Patriots is always scary, but they did have one back in the day, Corey Dillon, that they relied on.
Yeah.
And last year, and even in the offseason, sounds like he's the guy. His yards per carry were phenomenal. When he was on the field, he looked really, really good. His rookie year, he missed some time because of injuries.
Yeah.
But right now, it looks like he's going to be their starting back. So those are two guys out there that we potentially are getting on our bench that are the starting back for their team right now.
Yeah.
So those are guys. Now, once again, as far as the PPR goes, you could flop down to like Hines, you said, who's a PPR stud. But he does have some competition there.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to take both Hines and Harris because they're both safe picks with low ceiling. Because that Patriots offense and the fact that Jonathan Taylor's ahead of him. So I feel like I only want one safe pick, and the other guy I do want to be on a rookie, a guy who's maybe got that shot. We did get that in Javonte Williams. But anyways, Justin, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if we go running back, I'm feeling Mike Davis just because that's a safe choice there, him leading the backfield there. As our 4th running back, that seems like a solid pick. We could check out a possible tight end situation if you guys wanted to. It is kind of getting later in the draft.
Let's take a look at it.
Let's take a look at it. And before we do, I'll even say, we've got our 1 in Edwards, and we've got our 2. When you combine Gordon and Javonte Williams, no matter what happens in Denver, we've got the back. So at this point, it is a bench. We're not looking to secure a starter, so we can start to take some chances. We do want to have some safety and security, but looking at the tight ends, Irv Smith, Dallas Goedert, Logan Thomas, and Robert Tonyan are all out there, as well as some other not so great but doable options. If you're willing to stream, you could wait for a Henry or a Zach Ertz or.
So we're in a 12-team league. 9 are off the board. Now we got to kind of guess. Do we think that another one of these tight ends will get grabbed right now from another team to back up? I'm thinking probably not. I'm thinking that they might grab another tight end later on. So I think that we got a round or two that we can wait.
Yeah.
When you look at Irv Smith, Goddard, Thomas, and Tonyan, I think there's a lot of variance between them.
I say, here's my thought. The 3 teams who are going to be picking before our next pick have got their tight ends in George Kittle, Mark Andrews, and Kyle Pitts. They're not drafting another tight end. Let's take another position and then come back and get either Goddard or Robert Tonyan, depending on what you guys like.
Yeah, no, that's a solid.
Should we look at the receivers too?
Let's look at the wideouts. We do need a bench receiver as well. Jarvis Landry is still out there. Tyler Boyd, Rashad Bateman, Deebo Samuel. That's huge upside right there. There's a guy. Michael Pittman, Antonio Brown. Yeah, there's definitely some options.
Now, there's definitely some guys out there, but the one thing we do have to consider, you said that we've got a number 2 running back locked down. It's either going to be Gordon or it'll be the rookie Williams, right?
Yeah.
Or, and this would be bad, running back by committee.
Yeah.
So I want to have a little bit of security on my bench for running back.
Absolutely.
And I also feel like we've been kind of making a lot of these picks. I just want to see what Justin, I think we should let Justin make this pick. And of all the things we threw out there, you can be our scapegoat if this goes bad. Who do you think we should grab?
Well, initially I would have said maybe a tight end at this point, but after Christian's observation, yeah, they do have their tight ends already. I think running back is a safe choice. We do have 3 of them already, but to have a solid bench player on there, a starter for their team, to kind of be there as a security blanket in case one of them, or like you said, they go by committee there. I think Mike Davis is the choice, you know.
All right, so let's take Mike Davis. We'll see what comes back around to us. Hopefully they don't do that. It always happens when I wait on my quarterback and then somebody drafts their bench QB. They're going to drop one of them, so it's okay, but it's still annoying. Anyways, right after we picked, Zach Moss went, followed by run-on wideouts, Landry, Fuller, Boyd, Rashad Bateman, and Robbie Anderson. So just like we predicted, no tight ends went.
Yeah, you know, at this point in the draft, I typically look at best talent available, most upside, or sleepers. Here's another thing that I do. I know someone's going to say, oh, this is terrible, but I begin to start to think about my kicker and defense.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to take them now, but what I have found, let's say I've noticed that, man, I really shorted up and I need another wide receiver, but there's 6 wide receivers that all fall in the same tier. And one of those is going to come back to me. I might grab the number 1 defense, and then when it comes back around, grab the guy. So I'm not against at least looking at some of those as an option.
Yeah. I mean, now might be a good time to secure tight end because of kind of the longer run on the opposite end of that that snake as well. Because we do have starters, quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end is still empty for us. So I mean, it might be a good idea to, especially because we're starting one in this league, to take a look.
Yeah, I think we need to grab that. We can't afford to lay an egg for tight ends this year. So.
And that's the thing. I'm going to put out there right now, mid-video, maybe we missed, maybe Prescott was a bad pick. Deshaun Watson's still out there, and so is Stafford. And with Watson out there, it's like, you know, you can't base that off of one guy, because that one guy will not always fall. But, you know, maybe we could have waited. Who knows? There are some other guys, but...
You know what we should do? We've never done this. We've done mock drafts before, but I think we should do wrap-up videos after the year and go back to our mock draft videos and kind of just say, hey, how did that work out?
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Well, if for nothing else, I think it also proves what you guys normally say on waiting for a quarterback. It kind of puts it out there and shows everyone like, hey, these are the quarterbacks still available at this time in the draft. You could wait on a quarterback, maybe not 3 or 4 rounds later, but 2 rounds later, there would have still been some good talent out there. So,
but I also don't think that we were hurt.
No,
I don't think we were necessarily hurt.
Yeah,
I just think we could have afforded to.
Yeah. And I think it depends upon where Dak Prescott finished. He finished the 6th quarterback, but he finished the number 1 scoring back or quarterback. Then man, we nailed it.
Yeah. And I'll say the one thing that made me say that really comes down to like what I did with Justin Herbert and what we've done with other quarterbacks. I do feel freeing drafting a quarterback super late, because then the minute a guy has a big week, I get to take the chance on him in free agency and then hope that he's the next Pat or Justin Herbert, who had those great rookie seasons. But let's take that tight end, or I guess, do you want to check the wideouts first, or should we?
Let's look at it. I think it's always wise to make sure, never assume, you know. So you got some guys out there that are all at that same level. I'm not saying that grabs me at this point is much better than others. And I think go back to what Justin had said, we got to get some quality tight end, you know. And here's the thing that we probably need to do, because we let it fall a little bit. Yeah. It probably won't be a bad idea to throw. And I hate to waste. I love my bench to be filled with wide receivers and running backs. I just do. But it might behoove us, because the right guy out there, throw an extra tight end out there, because we do want to get this right.
Yeah.
So I guess the question comes down to which one of these do we grab if that's the direction we're going. You know I brought up Irv Smith. I like the situation there for him. But Robert Tonyan, you know, he's had some pretty good years. Last year it was pretty decent. If Aaron Rodgers comes back, and that might be why his ranking is so low, is because that question mark there. But if he does play this year at Green Bay, he's going to have a good season. You know? So
yeah, hopefully it's not a homer pick. I like Irv Smith. If you actually look at the guy's got a lot of stuff. He came out of college known as a great athletic pass catching back, and so I think he's got a lot of potential there with Kyle Rudolph gone. For me, I don't mind any of those guys. I think Logan Thomas brings a lot of value too. But I have a slight edge to Irv Smith. But what's your take, Christian?
I think that's interesting. You guys going that way. Personally, if it's me, I'm a Dallas Goedert guy. He's the guy that I like. You look at it last year, and I was just trying to pull up his stats because I couldn't quite remember them, but it seems to me like he might be the leading tight end there. Feels like a safe pick. But with Zach Ertz there at this point, I expect Zach Ertz to leave, but with him there, you're probably right to go with someone else.
And I'm also not sold on Hurts yet. We'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll see. So, and maybe it's Tonyan. This is PPR, but do you say, hey,
but what carried him last year?
Touchdowns.
The touchdowns. Yeah, that's what carried him.
Do you think he repeats that with Rodgers? Because it is Rodgers.
It is, yeah. But once again, we have question marks. Is Rodgers coming back? I think he does. Irv Smith is the safest play in my estimation.
I think so too.
All right, why don't we go with Irv Smith? All right, so just took Irv Smith. Why don't we just do a read off of our roster so far, what it looks like? At quarterback, we've got Dak Prescott. Our running backs are Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams, and Mike Davis. Then our wide receivers, pretty insane, by the way. Devonta Adams, Allen Robinson, and Chris Godwin. I don't think I've ever actually had that good of wide receivers. That's pretty good ones. But anyways, and then we've got Irv Smith at tight end and Mike Davis on the bench.
I like those as stronger running backs, but when you consider it's a full-point PPR league and we're as strong as we are in the wide receivers, that can carry your team far.
Absolutely. So here's what we're looking at now, guys. Like you mentioned, do we lean towards picking up that elite kicker to just lock that down so we're not wasting waiver wire spots on that? Because I have seen that hurt teams. Every single week, they're making a change with their defense and their kicker, and you lose waiver priority. So that is valuable to keep that.
Yeah, it's hard to see. I don't think you can win games with your kicker and defense, but you can lose them with the wrong one.
Absolutely, yeah.
All kickers and all defenses are still out there, so no need to panic, but
I think we need to go look at running backs and wide receivers to see what's there.
Okay.
And then from that, we can make that decision. So,
running backs, you got A.J. Dillon, Nahim Hines, Singletary, Gurley, Pollard. Nothing too phenomenal out there. Jamal Williams, J.D. McKissick. Let's look at the wide receivers.
Hines was huge last year in PPR scoring.
He was good last year. The wide receivers, we got Mike Williams, Devontae Parker, Elijah Moore, Henry Ruggs, a few other guys. Mecole Hardman, huge upside there. Nothing too great, though, to be honest with you. Wide out, I probably would lean towards not going that way.
T.Y. Hilton, there's some sleepers there. This is where you're more apt to maybe go for a rookie wide receiver that's got some upside.
Yeah.
None of these guys jump out at me. Once again, running back, it's always nice if you could find somebody there. Hines gives you a nice option. You could handcuff, if Jones goes down, Dillon might be great. Mm-hmm. Or like you said, this time that you grab that number one defense, the number one kicker, and then, man, you're good.
What if we took Hines on the short comeback around, we grab a kicker, and then after that, we're still looking at filling our bench with whatever flyer shot we want to take on wideout, and filling our defense and stuff like that. But we kind of got that wrapped up. What do you guys think?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I did want to ask real quick though. I know you're thinking about Hines, but is Devin Singletary not a solid option underneath that? I mean, to maybe a spot on our bench.
I like Devin Singletary. Zach Moss there has kind of taken over that role, especially on the ground. Statistically, Hines was just better.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just what he did last year, and I assume that would repeat.
They split carries on that, so. Yeah.
Rob, why don't you? Do you want to make the pick? And Justin pick. I don't want it. You guys can figure out whatever you want to do.
Well, I feel like you're probably gonna go Hines. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, Hines was really good. He's a safe pick, but to me, the upside's limited. Is there a rookie guy out there that we could go with? Sorry for me, I can't see the screen there. If you want to lower it down for running backs, who else is on there? But
yeah, there we go.
So
Philip Lindsay's out there. It sounds like Mark. I always forgetting everyone's name at this point. Mark Ingram sounds like he might get released, which would leave it just David Johnson and Philip Lindsay there.
Yeah, I mean, you got Gus Edwards, who's not a PPR guy. He's a straight pure running back, but he's actually yards per carry. He's been good there, but I don't know. Those guys just pop out at me. Hines is once he provides a safety option, a guy that you can use maybe on bye weeks, or if there's an injury.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you get.
Yeah, I think that's the one that makes the most sense. So.
And we've seen with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, we've seen bench backs, or not bench, but kind of secondary rollbacks finish. How high, you did the research on it, how high, do you remember how high Kareem Hunt finished?
He was ninth.
Do we feel like with how talented he is in the passing game, that he could be a top 24, and suddenly we're looking at just a steal right here?
Yeah, he could be, going back to a few years ago, you had White for the Panthers, for the Patriots there, who was a PPR stud. So, I think you could definitely get that with him. I think that's where we go.
All right, let's do that. And then, like I said, maybe we come back around for a kicker. Okay. Justin Fields just went. Looks like we're starting to get into that rookie QB range. Huge upside there. Obviously, I'm not comfortable with him being our starter, but why don't we take a look at it? Wide receivers, pretty much the exact same situation, minus the two guys. Tight ends, we already took one. I don't know if you really want to take one now, but again, kickers are still there, defenses are still there.
So defense or kicker, what are you guys thinking? Which one is the most,
I feel like a stud kicker. is going to be far more consistent than even like a really good defense, you know. And I feel like that's why I always pick kickers before I pick a defense.
Yeah, I mean, to me, you got two out there, Buckner and you got Tucker. I mean, Tucker is a Hall of Fame, and that dude is a stud. You can't go wrong with him. But and the way they play their game, he gets a lot of field goal attempts. Guy can get over 50. Doesn't matter whether this guy he's ice in his veins.
That's what I was thinking.
I guess, is it for sure that through this next series of picks that they're going to start picking kickers? Or do you think we could wait one more round and try to find maybe a bench receiver or something?
Let me ask you this, because we might. Is there a bench receiver running back that pops up? Because I agree. If there's one, we think, no, we like that guy. It's time to grab him.
Yeah.
I can't remember anybody that really pops out or really kind of stands out above the rest. But
that's kind of what I was thinking as well.
There's not much. Yeah, maybe kicker is the move.
And that's just it. Someone has to start the run. I love to start the run because if you're not starting the run, you're in the panic of the run, you know?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Sometimes I love to start the run because other owners will begin to do it, which intentionally leaves maybe another player I want on my bench there. Maybe they'll start the run out.
All right, let's just go Justin Tucker then, and then see what we get wrapped around. Again, quite a few picks now before our, pick 12. But I feel really good about it at the moment, and I love that kicker pick. I'm happy. I know you love Justin Tucker. You're a big kicker guy. And just securing that down, I love not wasting waiver wire picks.
Yeah. Well, it looks like a defense finally went Washington. I thought I might come back around because the number one kicker and the number one defense as far as the preseason rankings. Who's out there for defense, you know?
Still some great options. Tampa Bay, the Steelers. The one I love is the Rams, to be honest with you, or the 49ers. When they get healthy and they figure out that offense and they don't have a million issues, they could very well be the number one fantasy defense this year.
I like the Bucs, man. They're young. That defense got better. They're going to put points on the board. Of course, an opposing quarterback to have to throw. That creates turnovers, sacks. I think they're a stud defense with lots of young talent. And I think that it'll come back around, and then we can grab some bench players. But we'll have an amazing defense, an amazing kicker. Yeah. That's my take. I like Tampa. Who do you like of those guys that are there?
Well, I mean, I can't help but agree with you with Tampa, only because of the fact that they brought in all 22 starters again this year, you know. So how good they were last year and how many points they were putting up. I mean, you got to believe that they're going to be a very similar team.
And they're young defense, young talent. They got better and better. They got better in the playoffs, and they look amazing in the Super Bowl. But unfortunately,
Tampa Bay it is then.
Let's do it.
We'll lock that in and see what wraps around. This is the short wrap around, only has 6 picks until we're up again. We've got our kicker and defense, so now we get to go full best option available.
That's it. Best
we need a wideout, right? I mean, we've only got 3 wideouts, so we need a bench receiver at this point.
We do, yeah.
Looking at it, nothing too amazing out there. Some guys like Russell Gage possibly capitalizing on that situation in Atlanta where Julio Jones leaves. Don't love him, but I love the volume he could be seeing.
Yeah.
Nelson Aguilar for New England, again, he could be playing out wide receiver 1 or Marvin Jones. What do you guys think?
Well, maybe not now, but maybe on the circle back around. I like Christian Kirk, but he was a consistent target there, and I don't know what you guys think, but we might be able to sneak him in the next round too if we wanted to get 2 receivers on our bench, you know. But
since we're going to bench 2, I think we should take a second pause and at least look at tight ends and running backs.
Before we look at the other positions, I will mention Emmanuel Sanders is also out there, who is probably going to be.
You want to fill that right into where he landed if you haven't followed it, of course.
Yeah. So here we are looking at the tight ends: Johnny Smith, Austin Hooper. There's Adam Troutman. I know a few people are big on him there for the Saints to kind of fill that role that they're going to need to replace the loss of Emmanuel Sanders. Gerald Everett for Seattle. Russell Wilson loves to target tight ends. Yeah. You felt like, and I agree, maybe we need a bench tight end. Don't like to be having to do that. Or Jared Cook. He had a surprising amount of touchdowns last year, and he goes where? To the Chargers, where they are used to having Hunter Henry, and might argue that Cook is even a better tight end in that role. So there's guys worth taking here.
Yeah.
If you feel like they're just more valuable than another position.
Yeah, I don't know if they are or not. I think if I look what's out there, those are guys that we could probably stream. None of them just grabs me. I think there's more value putting either another wide receiver or running back on our bench just to add some security there, I guess.
Not a whole lot.
I'm not really liking the running backs. Personally, I really lean wide out at this point.
Yeah. And you want to roll the dice. I saw a guy out there that's something to consider, okay? Dalvin Cook, talented dude, but he has had a history of not staying healthy. And you're the guy that when he's been on the field has looked solid. Alexander Madison, he's out there. That's a guy that if all of a sudden Cook goes down, it's not that much of a stretch when you consider how injury prone he's been in his college and pro careers. Not a bad guy just to toss on there for a shot.
It's not a bad guy. The only issue I have is he doesn't get much play time when Dalvin Cook is healthy. And so it's really a guy you're just waiting on all season for Dalvin Cook to go down. And then when he's back up, he plays almost zero, And so it's like almost a wasted spot unless Dalvin Cook's down. And so I don't like that situation. I think he could be a stud if he were to be given the chance. But with that situation there, I don't like it.
So we're going to ask ourselves, what are we trying to get from the position of? Because most likely we throw in, there's not going to be somebody who's going to crack our starting lineup anyways, unless we have a horrendous week of bye weeks or injuries.
Well, we got 2 starting running backs with 3 backups. 3 starting receivers with no backups. We need a wide receiver from my perspective.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think we need to. So let's go look at wide receiver.
Like I said, the guys out there, not a lot of phenomenal options. For me, I see either Emmanuel Sanders or Russell Gage. You mentioned Christian Kirk. I love Christian Kirk, and I feel like I'm waiting for him to have that year. It does concern me. He won't be the wide receiver 1 with Hopkins there, and they did go out and add AJ Green. That's the name. Man, I'm just out of it right now. But so maybe wondering if they don't necessarily have faith in him. That's kind of my perspective on that.
To me, the safe wide receiver to take is Russell Gage. He's safe. I think he's going to get you. I won't be surprised 900 yards. But the guy with the most upside is Jalen Reagor. He's a former first-round pick. Okay, so the guy's actually got a lot of potential. So you can ask yourself, what do you want? Are you looking for safe or are you looking for upside?
Well, on our bench, it's almost, you could go either way, consistency. But if he's on your bench, upside might be the way to go.
Yeah. Another thing to consider, too, you're right. If you get this guy, we'll get stud wide receivers, which we do. We're not going to need him. But if you're in a league that trades, and all of a sudden, let's say Jalen Reagor becomes a first-round pick that they thought he would be, and the guy's a stud, now you can leverage that for a trade. So that's something else to consider, too, on your bench. But so I'll let you guys decide who you want to throw out there.
I guess that's really it. Do we want the safe Russell Gage as our only bench receiver at the moment, or do we want the upside in Reagor, who could be a 1,000-yard receiver? He could finish in that range. Do we risk it? Right now, according to Sleeper Fantasy, the site we're drafting on, Gage will go first, and there's a slim chance Reagor falls to us, as many teams need kickers and defenses still.
I think that the last 2 picks should be receivers.
Yes.
Because we have to start 3, and we have none.
Yeah.
So I think our next 2 picks are wide receivers.
I feel like this is our first bench wide receiver, right?
First bench wideout.
I feel like as our first bench wideout, it's a good decision to go safe route, because if one of our guys go down, you don't want someone that's got all these highs and lows, or maybe he just ends up having a terrible year. So I say Gage.
I totally agree with that. And we don't need upside. Why would you need upside when you have Adams, Allen Robinson, and Chris Godwin? We need safety. We need the bye week guy. We need the injury guy. So let's fill it with Gage. And then, hopefully Jalen Reagor's still out there. Maybe not great odds, but if it happens with the need for big kickers and defenses at this point for most teams, that would be great.
Yeah.
And just like we said, a lot of guys going. Johnny Smith did go, and mostly just kickers and defenses at this point. What do you know? Our last pick was at pick 14. We're up again. It was just all kickers and defenses minus a tight end there. Jalen Reagor's still out there, and I assume we still want him.
Yeah, I think that's a clear choice.
All right. There we go.
Now, a lot of times we give you the results, even give you how they rated, how you did. I don't know if this site does, but it'd be good to see that. Or maybe we should just do a quick rundown of what we got, what we think our strengths and weaknesses are.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not do that?
Let's start with the quarterback, Dak Prescott. Obviously, no issue there. Okay, we don't know where he's going to fluctuate. If he doesn't break his leg again, I think I'm not worried at all with that pick.
Yeah.
Running backs, that's where I feel like we do have a little bit of question mark.
We do.
Based on what fell us and what we did, we took some chances. But I won't say it's bad. Why don't you run down who we got at running back again?
Yeah, so running back, we got Clyde Edwards in the second. Then we got Melvin Gordon, Devonta Williams, Mike Davis, and Nahim Hines. And that's a sort of a backfield where I think a lot of people are going to leave a comment like, that's not a great backfield, but it's not great. But it does actually have some depth there. I think it really does with how we got Hines. Mike Davis was a steal. He's safe because he's the starter for sure. And he's also got upside because he's the starter in a new offense, so we don't know what that ceiling is going to be. Yeah. So it was almost the best of both worlds there. Justin, what do you think?
Yeah, I think normally, like we said, I would load up on running backs. But the depth here, I see it's good. The only issue I have is potential injury. All of a sudden now we're taking one from the bench, and we want security there. There's not going to be a whole lot in free agency. That's why I go the route with running back strength versus wide receiver, because there's always wide receivers you can grab in free agency in most weeks.
Yeah.
There's always someone you can grab, and who's going to score 5 to 10 points or whatever. Nothing too exciting, but they're going to get it done. As far as running backs go, most of who's out there might give you 2 or 3 points a week. And so that's the only issue with it. Our lineup isn't bad though, and then the depth we have at our bench, I'm also happy with that too. But
Do you feel like we live in a society where we want the newest, cutest thing that comes out in the market, and we have short memories? I mean, Melvin Gordon a couple years ago was a tier 1 running back, and last year he didn't suck. I mean, we talked about his yards per carry, yards after contact, were some of the best he's had in his career. At 4.6 yards per carry, 900 yards rushing in 15 games. He also had 32 catches. He ended up with 10 touchdowns. Even if he just repeats that, that was a good year. He's not chopped liver. And so this is a guy that could go back to his tier 1 running back stats that he had years ago. And so, I mean, I don't think that we did bad there, but here's what I think he made. Our wide receivers are so good, and this is PPR, full point PPR league, that, I mean, there's no way that we don't finish first in wide receiver scoring in this league, easily.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what I do see, and this is maybe just my mindset, one of the reasons we draft for the most total talent available is trades. We look at a team here like, what is that teammate that the computer drafted? They got Tyreek Hill, great. Their next best wide receiver, Marquez Brown. I don't think they're too happy with that. What do you think the odds are that we're able to upgrade a running back if they got like Josh Jacobs, What are the odds where you're able to capitalize on someone's panic? I don't have any wide receivers, this sucks. Well, now I've got that extra talent because I went talent first. Maybe I can make something work with it. Of course, it has to be the right trade, but if you can do that, it definitely helps.
So let's break this down. At quarterback, a lot of places would argue, it depends. Some would say Dak Prescott will be the number one quarterback this year. Good there, right?
Yeah.
Got the best wide receivers in the league, right?
That's
All
wide
right,
receiver.
That's wide receivers.
Not arguable.
And according to this, we get the best kicker, second best defense, and then so really what it comes down to is our running backs and our tight end. Unless we were to take our tight end very, very early, which you had to, you're going to sacrifice something. But I think that a tight end that we got is going to be solid. He's not going to be Kelsey, but there's a reason why Kelsey went so early.
but there's upside there.
There's upside there, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't see a lot of holes and gaps. The one thing that we will say to you guys out there is when you do make your draft, though, this happens. A lot of owners make a mistake. You might draft a couple weeks early, and they leave their lineup be. The day after I draft mine, I am scouring the waiver wire thing. I'm always trying to upgrade and improve. Even if I got great starters, you can never have too good of a bench, right?
Absolutely.
Well, we want to hear your comments, right? Or how do we wrap this up here?
That's it. Why don't you just tell us what we did wrong, right?
Or what we did right. Or like, subscribe, share with a friend, you name it. What else, Justin? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, like they said, just let us know what we can be better at here, because we're ultimately here to help you guys. So, tell us what you think about our lineup here, what you would do differently. But also tell us, give us pointers what else we can do for you guys on this channel to better help you with your leagues.
All right, well, that's it from us, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this PPR 12-team mock draft. Hopefully we'll be doing another one. Our next video, we're going to get back into our rankings with our second wide receiver video. But as always, you guys have a great day, and God bless.